Stacey Abrams being accused of a mega crime here. Another financial crime. I don't know what she is thinking. And, I'll tell you, the Democrats have a bit of a problem on their hands because this woman wants to run for governor way down in Georgia again. And, she keeps running and she keeps on losing, but she won't admit she lost. But apparently it's perfectly fine if you're Stacey Abrams to say that you won when you didn't, or at least refuse to concede. Yeah, this is the big article. They did a giant puff piece on her there in the New York Times a couple years ago when she came forward saying that, she won. I read that and I was like, wow, that's really amazing. The New York Times is totally fine with Stacey Abrams saying she won the election, even when she didn't. That's kind of amazing. Anyway, it's par for the course, right? You know that. I know that. That's why Terry Moran is in trouble right now, because now we all know. Do we not? We all know what's going on. Stacey, however, as I said, is a new headache for Democrats at this moment. She's run twice. It's enough to convince me. This is an article from the New York Post. She won't win a general election. He apparently told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution this. This is Jimmy Johnson, former chair of the Appling County Democratic Committee there. They don't know what to do with her, right? It's going to just be more pain. But you know who it won't be pain for? Stacey, because I have a feeling she's going to make more money on it. She knows how to work these nonprofits. This one, Stacey Abrams, allegedly now being caught funneling $20 million to her friend, her former college mate at Spelman College, and her former campaign manager, who wouldn't take the case as pro bono. Like I said, we were just talking about Letitia and her heavy legal bills. And she's got that $10 million alleged slush fund to be able to cover them there in the state of New York. The GOP doesn't want to give her access to it. Well, Stacey, she took on this Georgia governor thing with her fair fight action. So she spent all this money with this law firm, Lawrence Hardy, that was co-founded by her really good friend and her former campaign manager, to say, no, I really won Georgia. And, well, she didn't. Brian Kemp. She lost to him. She lost to Brian as she did manage in the interim to pay, I should say, which could be a potential IRS violation. The IRS actually hasn't commented on this just yet, but tax records reveal $20.2 million went to this woman. If you can see her picture, it is her former campaign manager, and people are raising an eyebrow saying, you know what, this is really expensive. It's very high. It's a very high cost to have defended her all those years. In fact, the state government only spent $6 million on their case, and they won it. A lot of people are saying this is a totally frivolous case. What was Stacey really thinking taking this on? I'll tell you what Stacey was thinking. Stacey was thinking about Stacey, right? Socialists, they're very good at putting themselves first. So Stacey's thinking about Stacey. How do I raise my profile? Apparently simultaneously helping out my friends with benefits, shall we say. So this is, as I said, the Georgia State Senate is now looking into her for a variety of things. Don't forget, she just had to pay a big fine for one of her nonprofits. She had all these nonprofits popping up all over the place. And the New Georgia Project, which apparently failed to report millions of dollars in contributions, their spending tied to Abrams' first gubernatorial bid back in 2018. She lost to Kemp, so then she raised money so that she could sue the state of Georgia in this fair fight action. And in doing so, right, she raised her profile and she made a bit of money for her friend. People are saying this was never a case, though. By the way, it got thrown out by, for what it's worth, African-American judge, this guy who was an Obama appointee. All right, so even he's like, you didn't do it. You didn't actually show us that there was any racial component which enabled or disabled, I should say, people from voting in the state of Georgia. So this was this whole lawsuit. Fair fight, aptly named, right? And her law person there that got all the money for the firm, she has made a big deal saying, this is so near and dear to my heart. This is really important. We need to make sure that we're not discriminated against with voting rights. So I'm just saying she could have taken it on pro bono, right? The firm has taken on other things pro bono. If it was that near and dear to her heart, it wasn't that near and dear. Let's just say, $20.2 million can make it very near and dear. But was it even real? Was it even real? Abrams, meanwhile, getting herself a nice little salary, $80,000. You see, politics can be a very lucrative little business for people that are very clever about it. But not too clever, because you know what? Time is catching up with her. Catching up. Anybody who's grifting out there, like a Stacey Abrams, I think is about to pay the price. Don't forget, again, paying off the friends, so to speak, representing her. I'd like to see these legal bills, because one should be asking for that. Lawyers actually have to itemize every hour that they're working. So if she's paying her friend $20 million, it's 20.2, so 200,000, but just call it 20 million. And the state is only costing $6 million to defend themselves. And by the way, they won. Something's kind of off, just a little bit off. And don't forget, this is the woman who's all upset because she doesn't have any more of this grant money in her various NGOs. Lee Zeldin making this point. Don't forget what Lee was saying. Lee Zeldin slamming her. This is back in February, saying that she had racked up all kinds of needless expenses with her, NGO that was all about allegedly the environment. There was $20 billion that they're now seeing went through city. And he's like, whoa, this was a lot. This is the tip of the iceberg. And they're investigating it. Here he is speaking with Donald Trump and the cabinet. This is in one of those cabinet meetings back in February.
The has now canceled over $22 billion worth of contracts. $2 billion going to this NGO that Stacey Abrams was tied to. They received only $100 in 2023. And then the Biden administration gave them $2 billion. The director of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund saw his former employer get $5 billion. So $20 billion went to just 8 NGOs, and they're all pass-throughs. And then they were giving it to other entities. Many of them were pass-throughs. And what you have is all these extra middlemen. They're taking their cut. And the taxpayer ends up getting screwed. They're losing out on all this hard-earned money. They can't afford to have the federal government waste. The partnership with Doge.
Look, we can't afford to have that kind of waste. And we can't afford to just be bankrolling Democrats who want to live off the system. Jasmine Crockett, however, she feels very differently. This is the representative from Texas saying, you know what? We got to stand with Stacey, because this is really just all about her running for governor and some people not wanting her to run for governor. And then there's, she goes back to the well. I'll let her say it.
So to hear the comments about Stacey Abrams, it really got me going. And a lot of times when we come into this hearing room, it's all about politics. And it made me think that there was an issue most likely with Stacey, because someone actually brought up the fact that Stacey has run for governor a couple of times. And it seems like there's a gubernatorial race that's coming up in Georgia, and nobody knows whether or not Stacey is going to run. So why not muddy the water if we can, to hopefully keep a strong Black woman down? But again, I digress.
You digress. Oh, well, Jasmine, keeping a strong Black woman down, that seems to be part of your whole MO, right? Like it all goes back to race. It's why Stacey lost, she says, because it was race, except that the judge who was appointed by Obama actually felt quite differently. Again, we'll go back to, let's see his statement. This is her attorney, but let's go back to the judge. Do we have the judge? Do we have the judge? Do we have the judge? Yes, we do. Okay. So no, we don't. Well, I think we read it. There we go. There's the judge. There's the judge. The judge is saying you actually failed to provide any evidence of a voter who was unable to vote because of their race. So what was it about other than just a whole bunch of headlines? Really, guys, okay, we gotta do better than that. If nothing else, have we not learned, Disney, ABC, that you've got to do better than that? Here's my prediction. ABC is actually going to see a whole lot more heads rolling. I think The View is in jeopardy. I know we've said that a lot, but there may be a way to sort of off-brand that, maybe put it into a podcast, maybe do something else with it. But it's hurting the network overall. So I don't care if people are still tuning in. They're not able to command the same ad dollars that they were. And on top of that, you're costing Disney, the corporation, a whole lot of headache. So Terry Moran is finding out the hard way exactly what it means to be in conflict with the FCC. And this is a whole new FCC, okay? This is a whole new administration with a whole new agenda. And they care about truth and they care about fairness in reporting. And I don't think that you've seen a ton of it from ABC. I mean, over and over and over again. We saw that even with the debate. Remember, well, we won't go back to the cats and dogs, but that was kind of funny, right? Was it not? It was. Quick shout out for another one of our sponsors, Balance of Nature. We love Balance of Nature. I take the fruits and veggies, and they have all kinds of stuff there on the website. You should go check it out, balanceofnature.com. You can get 35% off. Right. So, you want to stay healthy. You want to drink your water, take your vitamins, get your exercise, all that. I'm sounding like your mom again. 1-800-246-8751. 1-800-246-8751. Give them a ring. Use my name for the 35% off, plus the free shipping, plus the money back guarantee. So you can't beat it. Again, Balance of Nature, one of our sponsors that we're so proud to have on this show, helping me to bring you this show every single day for free. That matters, right? It really does. Thank you again for being here, everyone. Oh, before I go, one more sponsor, right? I think they get 2 a day. So these guys are really doubling down. American Heart for Gold. TrishLovesGold.com. TrishLovesGold.com. Go check that out today, everyone, because look, gold is just moving, shall we say. And it would be good to have gotten in at 1,500 when I told you to. But listen, I am still a long-term believer. Every time gold goes down, I actually go in and I buy it again. So it's just one of those great things to have. Thank you for all you do here on the show. We're climbing in the charts. But the charts aren't everything, right? They're not everything. You know what's everything? Truth. Truth is absolutely everything, and being able to report that, and that means the world to me. So thank you for all you do. I'm looking at those likes. Don is on your case, and I'll be back here live with you tomorrow. We have much more news coming your way throughout the day.